This meeting held in Roselle Park High School Auditorium is an open session of the Roselle Park Board of Education held under the Open Public Meetings Act of the State of New Jersey. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Star Ledger, Local Source, the Home News Tribune, the Borough Clerk, school offices, and the district website. Roll call, please.
President Carlstrom.
Here.
Vice President Falcon. Here. Mr. Fernandez.
Here.
Mr. Harms.
Here.
Mr. Hemingway.
Here.
Ms. Infante.
Here.
Ms. Kirkland. Absent. Ms. McLeod-Cato. Absent. Ms. Quintella. Absent. We have quorum.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the flag salute?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Resolved that the Roselle Park Board of Education meeting hereby convenes to executive session for discussion of the following subjects: personnel matters, student matters, attorney-client privilege. It is anticipated that the executive session will take approximately 60 minutes. The board may take action during the public session. The board shall return to the public session following executive session at approximately 7 p.m. The minutes of the executive session shall be released to the public if any reason for the executive session no longer exists. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
Make a motion.
Second, all in favor? Thank you.
May I ask the members of the audience, there is a governor's mandate that everyone must be wearing the mask indoors. And if you can please put on a mask, I would really appreciate it. So we are following the requirements. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we get out of here. We'll just...
Good evening. May I have a motion to go or to return to the public session?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. At this time, it's the public participation, agenda items only. A member of the public may approach the podium and state your name and address and ask a question for agenda items only. Seeing no member of the public approaching the podium at this time, I will resort to the committee reports. Do we have any committee reports at this time? It was a long, hot summer with no committees. Before we go to the superintendent's report, a few meetings back, we had some parents reach out to us with some questions about the survey that took place the last week of school. The questions were asked and the superintendent met with the parents. And at this time, I have the questions in front of me and I will read them out. There are 14. Number 1, how will any of this information help out the students and school? The information from the survey will provide the district with data on how all students experience school culture and the school environment. This information will help to inform the district as it makes decisions on how to best serve all students and highlight any areas that require further development. Number 2, what do you plan to do with the information you collected? The information collected will be used to help guide the district as it makes decisions on how to best serve all students and further the vision of the Diversity and Equity Committee in creating an equitable and inclusive school community across the district. Number 3, who is on the School Diversity Committee? The Diversity and Equity Committee is comprised of a central office administrator, 4 principals, 2 directors, 1 teacher, 1 instructional coach, 1 parent, 1 board member, and 1 high school student. Number 4, why wasn't the entire board allowed to read the survey before it was approved? The board's role in the district is not to administer the day-to-day operations of the school. The board authorized and designated the Diversity and Equity Committee to conduct the survey. The committee researched outside firms who were familiar with such surveys and contracted with a firm responsible for the creation and development of nationally recognized student surveys across K through 12 education. The survey questions were formatted and recommended by the contracted firm and subsequently approved by the Diversity and Equity Committee prior to the survey being administered. 5, why is it that when we take our children to the pediatrician and dentist, the parents are asked to fill out informational paperwork, including insurance, questionnaires, and surveys, but in school, the survey was sent to the children asking questions pediatricians don't? The board cannot speak on behalf of surveys from pediatricians or dentists. Number 6, what is the purpose of this survey? The purpose of the Culture and Climate Survey is to further educate the district on how all students experience school culture and the school environment. Number 7, why was the survey given to young children who didn't even understand the content of the questions? The Diversity and Equity Committee supported the survey and its questions as a vehicle to obtain valuable information and insight on school culture. The questions were recommended and formatted by an outside contracted firm responsible for the creation and development of nationally recognized student surveys across K through 12 education. Additionally, the questions were designed in order to elicit information on the school environment and culture across the district. Number 8, what was the purpose of repeating such terminology such as sexual orientation more than 5 times in the survey to 11-year-olds in understanding how their school year went? The survey questions were recommended and formatted by the outside contracted firm responsible for the creation and development of nationally recognized student surveys across K through 12 education. The survey questions sought information on the school environment and culture across the district. Number 9, why wasn't a permission slip sent home for the parents to approve or disapprove of the survey? On June 7th, 2021 and June 10th, 2021, the district provided parents, guardians with advance notice of the survey. The district's communication advised all parents, guardians that the survey was voluntary and that they had the ability to have their child opt out of participating in same. Parents, guardians were also instructed to call their respective schools with any questions. Some parents, guardians did opt out of the survey and called the school to request that option. In response to this matter and issues raised by parents in the community, the board reviewed the district's practices regarding surveys and has determined that any future surveys issued by the Diversity and Equity Committee shall be provided to parents, guardians in advance of the survey being administered. Number 10, why wasn't this handled in an individual basis between each student and their guidance counselor? The Diversity and Equity Committee recommended an anonymous survey of all students in order for the district to obtain information on how all students experience school culture and the school environment. The committee felt it was critical to obtain information from all students in an anonymous fashion, and therefore it recommended a survey as opposed to individual guidance counselor involvement. Number 11, how were the members of the School Diversity and Equity Committee selected? Volunteers were sought. Number 12, how did the board decide that Roselle Park would put out the Tripod Incorporated survey when surrounding towns such as Cranford didn't, and other towns who had absolutely nothing inappropriate in them? The board cannot speak on behalf of other towns and school districts as each is unique in their own way. Number 13, will the Roselle Park School District be implementing the LGBTQ curriculum in our schools? The district will follow the dictates of NJSA 18A:35-4.36a, and beginning in the 2021-2022 school year, incorporate instruction in diversity and inclusion in the curriculum of students in grades K through 12 outlined under the statutory requirements. Number 14, if so, will permission slips go home with entire lessons for each grade for parents to review and choose whether or not we want them to be included? Similar to certain health lessons, parents, guardians will have an opportunity to review lessons and have the option to opt out of the same. That concludes the questions and the answers. And at this time, I will turn the microphone over to Mr. Garrido with Superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Carlstone. Good evening, board members. Tonight, as everyone is anticipating, I do have a presentation on our opening of schools. I would like to begin by letting everyone know that the district is fully prepared to have our students return, all of our students return, full day, full time, every day. And if you don't mind, I would like to go up to the front since I have a presentation that I would like to share with you. Excuse my back, everyone. Apologies. Microphone on. Okay, just to introduce, I do have a timeline of what's been happening since the spring. Back on May 18th, 2021, Governor Murphy announced that each school district must provide full day, full-time in-person instruction and operations for the 21-22 school year. The district has been preparing ever since. and all through the summer, the preparation has been ongoing. Then on June 29th, 2021, the NJDOE provided the road forward health and safety for the 21-22 school year. This was a collaboration of the New Jersey Department of Education and the New Jersey Department of Health. Then over the past few weeks, we've had two executive orders. One was Executive Order 251, which makes mask requirements mandatory for all individuals, including students, staff, and anyone that comes into an indoor of the buildings. And that is for public, private, and parochial preschool programs and elementary and secondary schools. And then, of course, over the past week or so, we read the governor also announced Executive Order 253, which makes mandatory vaccination or testing requirements for all preschool to grade 12 personnel effective October 18th. So this is just a timeline so you know what's been coming and what we have been preparing for. Our mission from the beginning of this pandemic back in March of 2020 is to responsibly return students and staff back to school in a healthy and safe way. That has been always our commitment and will continue to be, to make sure we maintain the health and safety of everyone in each of our buildings. So how do we maintain the health and safety of our students? Universal and correct wearing a mask, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, the governor announced the Executive Order 251, making it mandatory for all individuals inside our school and in buses. Outdoors, the need of wearing a mask is optional. The guidance is, or the recommendation is that people who are not fully vaccinated wear a mask in crowded outdoor settings or during activities that involve sustained close contact. Fully vaccinated people might choose to wear a mask in crowded outdoor settings if they or someone in their household is immunocompromised. However, it is optional. Each staff and student will have masks in the school district. We have probably a good number of masks to give to the students and the staff. And just this past week, the state of New Jersey has donated or has announced that there are 6 million masks that schools will be receiving, and we will be one of them as well. So there is no shortage of masks here in Roselle Park. And also signs will be placed, or they are placed already, as they were back in 2021, at the beginning of 2021, about social distancing, hand washing, face coverings, and so forth. And the district will continue to enforce proper universal mask wearing in accordance with guidance from the governor, as well as the NJDOH and NJDOE. Of course, there are exceptions, and I want to make sure, because there have been several questions on this. As a matter of fact, I've received maybe 2 or 3 phone calls on some exceptions. And these are the exceptions. When there's extreme heat indoors, and the individual's health is at risk, that is an exception. When the individual has trouble breathing, is unconscious or incapacitated, or otherwise unable to remove the face covering. When a student's documented medical condition or disability reflects on their health and makes it very difficult for them to wear face covering. When the individual is under 2 years old. When the individual is engaged in activity that cannot physically be performed while wearing a mask. As eating or drinking or playing a musical instrument, that will be considered one of those. The next one is, the next 2 actually, when the individual is engaged in high intensity aerobic or anaerobic activity or participating in physical education class that has high intensity physical activity. So for example, physical education classes, if it's something that requires them to run or something with high intensity, the mask can be removed. When wearing a face covering creates an unsafe condition in which to operate equipment or execute a task. So those are the exceptions for mask wearing. Otherwise, we are requiring all personnel and students to be wearing a mask all day long. Physical distancing, the district will enforce a physical distancing standards as recommended by the NJDOH and NJDOE, and is right from the road forward that is out. And we will send it, I will send it out this week with this PowerPoint as well, so everyone receives it. Within the classroom, the district will maintain a 3 feet of physical distancing. If that physical distancing cannot be attained, then we will have physical barriers placed between the students and the staff, and between the students. Outside of classroom, including hallways, locker rooms, indoor and outdoor physical education settings, and school-sponsored transportation, we must maintain physical distance to the greatest extent practicable. Physical distance markers are placed throughout the hallways and classrooms and outside the school buildings. Signs regarding social distancing and washing face coverings are placed all throughout the school buildings. As a matter of fact, Mrs. Callis, Mr. Parento, and I did a walkthrough of all the buildings today, just to make sure that everything was in place for next week when students come in. Here you have some example of what the classrooms and the cafeterias will look, or the classrooms will look like. There's on the left a socially distanced classroom. We had some practice because last year we had to do the same thing, so we already know. Those desks are placed 3 feet apart, back to back, and tables that we cannot split. We would have a barrier, like you see there in the middle, and then on the bottom, that's a kindergarten class that we visited today, and as you can see, they have partitions for students to sit independently from each other. So that is what classrooms look like. If you look all the way up the upper right-hand individual barriers, every student will have that, just in case we cannot attain 3 feet in any of the settings that you see there. They will have a see-through barrier just like that. Meals. And this is lunch, and I know there have been several questions about lunchtime, because this is the first time that we are providing lunch for our students. Remember last year, we had one session, which lunch was not provided. Physical distancing will be maintained during meals. When physical distancing cannot be maintained, a physical barrier is placed between the students. I will show you pictures of that as well in the next slide. Students will wear masks throughout the food service lines anytime they're away from their barriers. In order to maximize physical distancing, the district may implement the following alternatives. And we looked at all different options. We've spent summers of really a lot of dialogue between the administration and the custodians and maintenance people to make sure that we were able to provide these type of alternatives. We may stagger eating times if necessary in some of the buildings where there's a larger population of students. There may be instances that we will be eating outdoors. Obviously, with the rainy season that we've had, it may be difficult. And also, we may have to move some students to eat in the classroom. These are just alternatives that we have in case we cannot provide the distancing. Mixing between groups will be limited, as they were last year in classrooms. No self-serve or family-style food options will be available. Students will have a packet. The lunches will be packed like they were last year. They will bring it to their area and they will eat in their area. Surfaces will be cleaned and sanitized before and after meals and in between groups as well. And then, of course, nighttime cleaning will always take place, where deep cleaning will also be part of the evening cleaning. So this is what we're going to follow. And here are examples of what the cafeterias are going to look like. So you can see each student has individual barriers between them. Now, to be able to space them out even further, we may use one of the alternatives that you saw in the last slide. Some students may be outdoors. Some students may be in the classroom in case we cannot have the social distancing in some of the crowded cafeterias. But that's exactly what the cafeterias will look like. Hand washing and respiratory etiquette. Stations are going to be prepared like we did last year with soap, water, and alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol. Hand washing will be an established practice throughout the school day, and we do have signs all over to remind students that hand washing is very important. Signage regarding social distancing, hand washing, face coverings are placed throughout the schools. Proper hand washing and respiratory etiquette will be practiced. The district will encourage students, since they have to cover coughs, sneezes, and such things, and make sure that a tissue is used during limited instances when the individual may be unmasked. For example, eating. Okay, cleaning and maintaining safe facilities. We have make sure that our HVAC systems have a fresh air component to their operations. We have district filters, as a matter of fact, with some of the CARES money. We purchase HEPA filters to place in areas where ventilation may be not as good. But most of our district or most of our classrooms are air conditioned, and they have plenty of ventilation. Routine cleaning and sanitation will be performed with a neutral disinfectant clean that is approved to kill the COVID-19 virus. And then hydrogen peroxide multipurpose cleaner is used to clean and disinfect rooms and surfaces. This will happen every night. Just so you know, evening custodians will be deep cleaning each of the classrooms, cafeteria, bathrooms, etc. Okay, electrostatic sprayer with Bioesk botanical disinfectant solution shall be used for sanitizing daily as well. And each classroom shall be equipped with hand sanitizer or hand washing stations with soap. Contact tracing. Now, this is something that I am in regular contact with our health officer at the county at Westfield. And, she's done a great job. Her name is Megan Avalon. And with the help of our nurses, we really did a great job last year with contact tracing. And I can reassure you that this will continue this year. But per the CDC, close contact is defined as being within 6 feet of someone with suspected or known COVID-19 for 15 or more minutes during a 24-hour period. We will continue to follow that same recommendation. So in certain situations, it may be difficult to determine whether individuals have met this criterion, and an entire cohort, classroom, or other groups may need to be considered exposed. This is when I pick up the phone, call the Westfield Health Office, and receive their guidance. And I'll tell you, they're always very good and very helpful as well. So some exceptions in the K-12 indoor classroom setting, the close contact definition excludes students who were within 3 to 6 feet of uninfected students, right? So lab confirmed or a clinically compatible illness, where both the infected student and the exposed students correctly and consistently wore well-fitting masks the entire time. And that's why the mask mandate, as we can see, because it does eliminate some of these contact tracing or exposure or having to quarantine. Based on medical information gathered, contact exposure, and open guidance from the Department of Health, shall a decision be made to isolate or quarantine students and staff. And we have a plan for that as well. It'll be in another slide. Okay. For purposes of contact tracing, the district will assign seats in classrooms, cafeterias, and buses to the greatest extent possible. So when your child comes into the cafeteria, they're going to have assigned seating, and that's going to be their seats every day they come in, just to make sure that we eliminate or at least diminish some of these exposure, if any. There's some exclusion criteria that just came out recently in the guidance. So COVID-19 exclusion criteria for persons who have COVID-19 compatible symptoms or who test positive for COVID-19. Ill individuals with COVID-19 compatible symptoms who have not been tested, or individual who tested positive for COVID-19 should stay home until at least 10 days have passed since the symptom onset or at least 24 hours have passed after resolution or fever with fever-reducing medications, or when the symptoms improve. Person who tests positive for COVID-19 but who are asymptomatic should stay home for 10 days from the positive test results. An alternate diagnosis, including a positive strep test or influenza swab without a negative COVID-19, is not acceptable for individuals who meet COVID-19 exclusion. Okay, so to return to school earlier than the time frame. And this is where we really need the help of the parents. And when we get to that section, I will let you know some of the guidelines that we're going to be using, or the health forms that we're going to be using to report any of this. Quarantine periods. Excluded individuals who are close contacts of staff and students who tested positive for COVID-19 may be considered for a reduced exclusion period based on community transmission. Unfortunately, we are back to the high orange exposure in here in Roselle Park and in most of all of Union County, I believe, at this time. So exposed close contacts should be excluded from schools for 14 days. If we do return back to moderate or low, which is yellow or green, exposed close contacts should be excluded for schools for 10 days. So the time of quarantine becomes less. Okay, and this is medically complex or other high-risk individuals should use the 14-day exclusion, just in case. And again, this is all from the New Jersey Department of Health recommendation. Close contacts who are fully vaccinated, this is new now, and have no COVID-like symptoms, do not need to quarantine, be excluded from school, or be tested following an exposure to someone with suspected or confirmed COVID-19. Obviously, this is not happening for any students under 12 because they cannot get the vaccine, right? That's still not eligible. But any staff member or any students who have been vaccinated over 12 years old should still monitor for symptoms of COVID-19 for 14 days following exposure, but they do not need to quarantine or be excluded. If they experience symptoms, they should isolate themselves from others, be clinically evaluated for COVID-19, including the SARS-CoV-2 testing, and inform their healthcare provider of the vaccination, right? So at the time of presentation to care. So right now, it changes a little bit if you're vaccinated. And here we have the diagnosis and screening testing. We are going to require every student and staff to complete a monthly COVID-19 questionnaire electronically. And we're going to have it in the nurse's office to make sure that we have that. The nurses will review. And if there's any symptoms, the nurses will call the parents and the student will be sent home. But where we are really asking the parents, if you or if your child has any symptoms that's related to COVID-19, to please contact the nurse immediately and let her know. This is the only way we're going to be able to stop any type of exposure. So we do need parents' help here. We do have the questionnaires that are going to be filled, but if anything between comes about, please, I encourage you strongly to contact the school nurse immediately. And again, parents should not send students to school when sick, a fever, a cough. Contact the nurse. For school settings, the New Jersey Department of Health recommends that students with the following symptoms be promptly isolated from others and excluded from school. So at least two of the following: fever, chills, rigors, okay, headache, sore throat, aches, nausea, any of those symptoms that it's related to any of the COVID-19 symptoms, please keep them home. And at least one of the following symptoms: cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, or any of those that are there, taste or any type of smell, or loss of smell. They should certainly keep them home. Vaccinations, as I mentioned before, Executive Order 253 mandates that all staff in schools, preschool to grade 12 personnel, be either vaccinated or go through a weekly or more testing. The district is currently putting in place a plan for the for the staff, and there will be a policy at our next meeting that the board will have the first reading on vaccination for staff. And this is just for staff right now. They either must provide proof of vaccination or have weekly testing. And again, there's an executive order we need and we must abide by it. Okay, I can read that over here. Accommodations for students with disabilities, would that be, let's go. All right. Accommodations for high-risk students will be made where possible and consistent with the recommendations of the student's IEP. So if a student has an individual education plan and there are any recommendations, we will make sure that where possible, that we set accommodations for those students. All requested accommodations should be sent to the Director of Special Services. And of course, if there's anything that's medical, a doctor's note is required as well. The district will follow the guidance for schools established by the CDC and New Jersey Department of Health. We will strictly follow the guidance. All right, so that is maintaining health and safety. And of course, we have a plan also for continuity of services. The district will implement, there are two things that we really are very concerned about, and we have been planning all summer. Number one is the mental health impact that COVID-19 over the past 18 months has had on students. So we will have routine mental health screening for grades 6 to 12 at the start of the school year and counseling services. Our school counselors are prepared for that. Staff will be provided mental health literacy training to look for any signs of anxiety or stress in any of our students. Social emotional learning will be emphasized in all classrooms, pre-K through 12. Individual and family meetings with counselors and support staff will be available. And also, we are partnering with a mental health agency to assist us for those most vulnerable. Any students who have really experienced extreme anxiety due to the COVID-19, whether it's through isolation or perhaps losing a family member or so. In terms of academic, we will implement a tier system of support to address any academic or behavioral needs for students. We will have after-school academic and enrichment programs for eligible students. We have higher interventionists as well, it's not there, to work with the students. And last year, we also hired coaches to work, instructional coaches, to work with our teachers to implement programs in the classroom that will be helpful and supportive to our students. And students will be eligible, all students, to receive free breakfast and lunches once again this year. So these are just some of these services we will definitely, when school starts and the needs become, we will have additional service in place as well. And here are some of them. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's too much. I am going to put this on the website and also send it to all of you. But here are many more of our academic, social, and behavioral supports. We do have an intervention and referral service committee. We have a variety of behavioral support through school psychologists, BCBA, which are our behaviorists, social workers, and school counselors. We do train our staff, our entire staff is trained to handle with care to make sure any type of behavioral issues come up that students may or could be restrained. The guidance departments will have resources for all teachers to help out. And of course, our special education students will also have IEP 504 medical plans for them as well. Okay, there's, again, just some of them. We do have more that we will be implementing. Okay, continuity of services. As you know, our technology has definitely, we have raised the standard and we were forced to obviously last year, but we are continuing to raise the bar in terms of instruction for students using our technology. Google G Suite will continue to, as the virtual learning platform for the district, we will continue that platform. We have inventory, and we do have a one-to-one ratio for all students across the district, ready in case we have to shift. And again, if we've learned anything during this pandemic, is that we need to be prepared and plan to shift from one to another, whether it's in person to fully remote or remote back to in person. The district will continue to troubleshoot and establish internet capability for any student without internet. Last year, we were able to provide free Wi-Fi for students who did not have Wi-Fi, and we were very proud that every student had access to Wi-Fi. Communication from home to school will continue through email, internet, and phone calls, if necessary, of course. Parents will continue to receive instruction in using Google Classroom like we did last year, setting up accounts, getting assignments, and corresponding with the teacher. And I just want to let you know, this is just district-wide presentation. Each individual principal will be sending home detailed information regarding their building. So if they didn't do so yet, they will be sending out information very shortly. And of course, there is a code, a law, that all students must attend, all schools must be in session for 180 days to receive state aid. The statute requires that school facilities be provided for at least 180 days during the school year. However, during a declared state of emergency or a public health emergency or a directive or executive order from the governor, we can shift, and it is allowed to move to full virtual remote instruction. Okay, just like was done last year to meet the 180-day requirement. Okay, quarantining home instruction. I think there have been several questions about this. Okay, we are required to provide students with a remote option if they have to quarantine. This includes travel, and this includes any exposure to the students, whether they have to quarantine for 10, 14 days or not. Okay, the district may be confronted with the incidence of COVID-19 positive cases amongst the staff and our students. If the district is required to exclude a student, group of students, a class, or multiple classes, depending on the level of exposure. While the school itself remains open for in-person instruction, the district will be prepared to offer virtual or remote instruction to the students at the elementary. This is what can be considered, although I really do not want you to be confused between home instruction. What is home instruction if a student has an accident or what have you, and it's a short term, but it's almost like it. However, it's going to be remote or virtual. At the elementary and middle school level, a teacher shall provide a minimum of 5 hours of live streaming instruction per week, which will be 1.5 hours for math and ELA, which are the main content courses, and 1 hour for science and social studies. And provide 5 hours in addition to that of guided learning experiences via the Google Classroom. At the high school level, a teacher should provide a minimum of 1 hour of live streaming instruction per week for each required class for graduation, and provide 5 hours of additional guided learning experience via Google Classroom. As we know, the other legally required course is physical education, and this will be provided via guided learning experience. So this is the plan right now for the district. If there's any student or staff that must quarantine. I am awaiting further guidance from the Department of Education. They did send out that, yes, we must provide some type of virtual remote instruction, but there was not really much after that in terms of guidance. So I believe that more will be coming, but this is the start that we have right now. And that is it. Again, this may change and we will be updating you if any changes are necessary. We are fully ready. We are fully ready to welcome all of our students day one, which is September 7th, next Tuesday. And all I am asking from parents is to please be patient again, support the district and your building principal and teachers, and your cooperation is really appreciated. We will continue to update you. I believe we're in a better place than we were a year ago, that we didn't have this meeting in person here, and we started the year remote. We're in a better place. My hope is that it continues to get better and better, and we will be able to be back here very soon to announce that we will be fully with less restrictions that we have now. So thank you. Thank you for your cooperation. Thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to continue with the agenda, and I'm ready to read addenda items 1 through 21. No? We have an addenda item, district policy first. Okay, district policy first reading. To approve the following district policy. Do I need a motion for that? May I have a motion for the addenda item 1, the district policy first reading?
Make a motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Falcon. Mr. Fernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Harms,
Yes.
Mr. Hemingway,
Yes.
Ms. Infante,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkland,
Yes.
Ms. I'm sorry, Ms. Quintella,
Yes.
and President Carlstrom.
Yes. Now we'll move on to personnel agenda items 1 through 21 and addenda items 2 through 7. 1, staff appointments. 2, staff resignations. 3, rescinding of staff appointment. 4, medical leave of absence request. 5, maternity leave of absence extension request. 6, additional athletic coaches 2021, 2022. 7, revision of leave of absence. 8, mentoring. 9, breakfast proctor personnel. 10, lunch proctor personnel. 11, Saturday school. 12, additional duty periods 2021, 2022. 13, middle school extracurricular advisors 2021, 2022. 14, curriculum writing. 15, changes of assignment transfer. 16, middle school extracurricular advisors 2021, 2022. 17, high school and middle school additional teachers and classes 2021, 2022. 18, additional high school extracurricular advisors for the 2021, 2022 school year. 19, district substitutes. 20, instructional support stipends. 21, professional development. And the addenda items, 2, district substitutes, and 3, staff appointments. 4, breakfast proctor personnel. 5, lunch proctor personnel. 6, athletic coaches 2021, 2022. 7, employment contracts, luncheon aides. And may I have a motion to approve the personnel section?
Make the motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have roll call at this time?
Vice President Falcon. Mr. Fernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Harms,
Yes, and extensions from number 19.
Mr. Hemingway,
Yes.
Mix Infante,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkland,
Yes.
Ms. Quintella,
Yes.
and President Carlstrom.
Yes, but I abstain from number 13. At this time, we'll move on to education. Agenda items 22 through 23. 22, education programs. 23, curriculum adoption. May I have a motion?
President Carlstrom, I'd like to make a motion to table number 23.
Certainly. May I have a second? May I have roll call for that?
Vice President Falcon,
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Harms, Mr. Hemingway,
Yes.
Mix Infante,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkland,
Yes.
Ms. Quintella,
Yes.
and President Carlstrom.
Yes. Now I need a motion for 22.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Falcon,
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Harms, Mr. Hemingway,
Yes.
Mix Infante,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkland,
Yes.
Ms. Quintella,
Yes.
and President Carlstrom.
Yes. Moving on to business, agenda items 24 through 31 and addenda items 8 and 9. 24, monthly certification. 25, approval of bills. 26, approval of minutes. 27, use of building and grounds. 28, American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 IDEA. 29, student transportation contract ESY. Number 30, district contract agreement. 31, NJEdge.net Incorporated, Edge Market Cooperative Pricing System. Addenda item 8, use of building and grounds. 9, award of emergency contract. May I have a motion to pass, to approve the approval of the business section?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Falcon,
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Harms,
Yes.
Mr. Hemingway,
Yes.
Mix Infante,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkland,
Yes.
Ms. Quintella,
Yes, with abstention on 27D.
and President Carlstrom.
Yes. Now we move on to continuing business or new business. Anyone have anything to bring up from the dais here?
President Carlstrom, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Ms. Marmello, who is leaving us. She's been a staple here in our district and has done amazing things for our students and has helped tremendously bring on our new hire today. And we are just very thankful for her service here in Roosevelt Park.
Thank you, Ms. Falcon. I agree with what you just said. Ditto. At this time, we are going to have the second public participation portion. Any member of the public may go to the podium, state your full name and your address before asking a question.
Good evening, Mr. Garrido and board members. Can you hear me?
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Sure. My name is Sandra Barlett, and I have resided at 638 Sherman Avenue for the past 20 years. The reason I am here is because my daughter attends the Academy of Performing Arts in Scotch Plains. For the past 3 years of her high school education, she was provided transportation from the Roosevelt Park High School to the Academy of Performing Arts in Scotch Plains. As part of the APA curriculum, every child must finish their senior year of high school at Kane University in Union. I learned this from an APA parent support group that transportation to Kane University will not be provided. I reached out to Michelle Callas, the board secretary, who informed me that the Roselle Park Board of Education is not required to provide transportation to Kane University. Ms. Callas stated that the Roselle Park School District is a non-transporting district with the exception to a vocational school, if the nearest entrance is over 2.5 miles away. With respect to the Roselle Park School District policy, my concern is for my child, who is 16 years old. I nor does my child feel comfortable walking to Kane University by herself, populated by young adults. My child will be walking through an unfamiliar area and walking through Lehigh Avenue, which is an industrial road. By APA requiring all the seniors, all seniors attend Kane University for their final year, my child has no option but to attend Kane as a high school senior. This is in fact makes Kane University part of the APA program, which is why I am requesting transportation to Kane. I am concerned for her safety. If the board will not honor my request for transportation, then I respectfully request that the board consider providing a monthly train pass. Kane University is a stop on the Railroad Valley Line, as is the Roselle Park train station. The train pass may be more cost-effective to the town, and it is a small price to pay to put this concerned longtime resident mom a bit more at ease. I thank you for your consideration and for allowing me to voice my concern.
Thank you.
Joe Signorella Jr., 625 Woodland Ave. Mr. Garrido, thanks for reminding us tonight about the mask for in the school district. So just a little, maybe help out. Maybe the signs could be updated, as of 250, Executive Order 251. I'll be honest with you, I forgot. I knew the kids, this and that, but maybe down the road, if you could freshen up the entrances. This is Executive Order 251 is required as of whatever the date was, 2-3 weeks ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will be updating the signs around the.
Jen Giscola, 145 West Grant Avenue. I'm actually here tonight just as a representative of our parent organizations, both PTA, PTO, and our CPEG. We have, as an executive board, as a president's brought back where we're starting to meet once or twice a year. That's better. Actually, more than once or twice a year, monthly. And we're asking that our board representatives, liaisons, come to our meetings, join our PTAs, our PTOs. It's really important for you guys to support us. And then in turn, we're going to be supporting you because together we're stronger. We've got some plans going forward to do things together as compared to separate. And we would request as well, something that we have done over many years is to have at least 3, if not 4 times a year that we meet with the superintendents and the principals going forward. The first item that we have coming up is we're hoping to have the bonfire this year. We'll start to coordinate together to figure out what we can do. If anybody happens to know where there's pallets, we definitely need some wood for the fire department. And we look forward to seeing everybody and seeing 100% teacher and administration membership throughout the district. Last year was a little rough for all of us, and we hope to see a better turnout this year. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi. Shayna O'Keefe, 321 Sheridan Avenue. Hi, I have two children at Sherman School, but I'm actually here representing the Roselle Park Diversity and Inclusion Committee. And I just wanted to let the district know that we are having our first anti-bullying rally and youth summit on October 9th. I think our flyer has either gone out or will soon be going out to the district for approval and dissemination. But I just wanted to reach out to get your support and encouragement. It's going to be October 9th from, I think, 1 to 4 or 5 p.m. at Michael Maury Park. And I encourage everybody to come out. We're going to have some great speakers and performers, activities, vendors. So if we can get as many people from the district, students, staff, everybody supporting us, that would be really great. So just wanted to put that out there. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that information. Seeing no other member of the public approaching the podium at this time, I would like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second? All in favor? Motion carries. Our next scheduled board meeting will be held in closed session and no action will be taken. Tuesday, September 21st, 2000. Sorry. Okay. So there will be action. So we'll probably have an executive session and then we'll be right here in front of you all. Tuesday, September 21st, 2021 at 7 p.m. The board meeting will be held here at Roselle Park High School Auditorium. The meeting will be then. And my script has changed. The show must go on. Everyone have a good month and we'll see you. Well, actually, happy Labor Day and we'll see you in a few weeks. Thank you.